Mike from MotoIQ here. Now we're going to go on to part 2 of our AE86 project. You know, we're all about suspension here, and like we wanted to build this project car with really special, really good suspension. Now, I talked about it in the other video, but in the past I was an engineer for TRD, and on our GT cars, we had what they called the N2 suspension system. And the N2 system was homologated for N2 racing in Japan. It was a whole kit that came from TRD. And it addressed all the problems of the AE86. But, that was like the gold standard. That kit hasn't been available for probably 30 years or something. But people tried to emulate it, and, with varying degrees of success, I guess. But now, T3 or Techno Toys Tuning, which is helping us with this build quite a bit, has come up with their own version that is everything the N2 TRD suspension kit was, and they're taking it to the next level with like unheard of versatility. I mean, this whole system is something that like probably I would have designed if I had free reign to do something, but it's a super awesome suspension kit for your 86, and let me walk you through it. The first thing, since it's really close to me, is the lower control arm. Now, the lower control arms are really sweet. They're fabricated from 4130 chrome moly. They have like really oversized spherical bearings for long wear. You can adjust the track width or even maybe the camber by turning these adjusters. And this makes the arm longer or shorter. And what's cool about it is it's right and left-hand threaded. So all you got to do is back off the jam nuts and spin the adjuster right here. So that way you don't have to unscrew anything and screw it out and then stick it back in. Or disassemble the suspension to adjust the track. You can do it all while it's bolted on the car. So I really dig this adjuster. Another cool thing is this is where your TC rod bolts in, like right through here. And the TC rod goes forward. You can screw it in and out to adjust your caster. But what T3 has done that's super cool is given you a bunch of different holes that you could stick the TC rod in. So if you're like building a drift car, you can move the rod in to get TC rod clearance with your tire for big angle. Another cool thing is the anti-sway bar end link has a bunch of adjustment holes. So, no matter how you set up your ride height or how your sway bars, whatever ones you're using, are bent, you can put it in one of these holes to get the optimal angle. So for best efficiency, everything should be at a right angle to the bar. But, if you mess around with aftermarket sway bars, a lot of times your end links are canted all kinds of weird ways, and you can't really do anything about it. But with the T3 arms, you have like a whole bunch of options of where you can put your sway bar end link. You can also adjust the stiffness and the motion ratio of the bar to your suspension by using these holes too. So, like let's say you have a bar that's not adjustable, you can put it in a different hole. Like if it's inward, your bar is effectively softer. If it's outward, the bar is effectively stiffer. So you can have adjustment for your overall stiffness and your bar's contribution to overall roll stiffness by varying what hole to put it in. Finally, you have the shank with the proper taper for your OEM knuckle, and you have this end thing, and you can adjust the roll center by messing around with these misalignment spacers. Like you can move the actual position of the pivot by how you stack up these spacers. So, you have every kind of adjustability you can dream about on this arm, and you get strength and stiffness and all that other good stuff too. So T3 arm, I think this is the best 86 arm made, at least as far as I know. And it's really awesome. It's one of those things that maybe I would have designed something like this. if that was my thing. But fortunately, T3 did it for me, and they made it so I don't have to do anything, which is sweet. But I think that's pretty good endorsement. I mean, it's the way I would have done it. When you look at the tension rod, this is the rod that goes to the forward part of the chassis. So T3 is using big, oversized spherical bearings, so get rid of all the gush and play. And they're really big and oversized, so they'll last a long time. Like the arm, you have left and right hand threads. So if you want to adjust your caster, just back off the jam nut, and then you can turn the rod in and out without having to remove anything from your car. So alignments and trackside adjustments can go quickly. You have this bracket that bolts into the stock TC mount on the car. So it's a complete bolt-in when you combine it with the lower arm. Center part's made out of aircraft aluminum. It's probably way stronger than the stock stuff. Once again, this is another cool piece of hardware. I probably would have designed it just like that, but thanks to T3, I don't have to. Next is the tie rod ends. These are a lot more stiffer and rigid than the stock ones. It has oversized spherical bearings, that are probably better than the stock tie rods. You have left and right threads, so it's easy to set your toe in alignment. And I don't have them out here, but the shank that goes into the knuckle also has a bunch of misalignments and spacers, so you can adjust the angle and adjust your bump steer just perfect, or however you want it. If you want to mess it up, you could do that. I don't recommend it, but you can get your reduce your bump steer to a bare minimum with these. Really good parts. Next is the Super Evolved Knuckle. Now this knuckle is a really pretty great piece. Like, it bolts onto the bottom of your factory knuckle. And what I like about these is it has like a crazy amount of adjustments. So it works for anything from grip driving to drifting. If you want to drift and get big angle, you put your tie rod in this inner hole. That makes your steering quicker and gives you the steering rack more leverage, so you can develop more angle. Out here is like kind of like the factory position, so your steering effort is lower, and you get more like a regular angle and regular response, kind of like what you want for grip driving. The coolest thing about this knuckle is you have a bunch of register pins, and you have these pills that go in the holes. And by putting these pills in different positions, they have an offset hole. You can adjust the amount of Ackerman on there. So if you want low Ackerman, close to parallel steer for drifting, or you want a little bit of Ackerman for, like maybe high-speed drifting, like on the bank at Irwindale or something, you could adjust it by taking the pill out and putting it in one of 4 positions. If you want a stock level of Ackerman for grip driving, you can do that so it's straight up. So, you get everything from an angle kit to good grip driving with a Super Evolved Knuckle. So I really, really dig these parts. Next we have these roll center adjusters. Like when you lower an 8.6, the lower control arms start like doing this thing. And what happens is your roll center gets really low, it gets below the ground, and the distance from the roll center to the center of gravity gets big. Now this is like the roll couple. The roll couple is like a lever arm that works on the center of gravity of the car. The bigger the roll couple, the more propensity the car has to like roll in the corner. So you could have your car all lowered, but you still have a lot of body roll, even though your CG is getting lower, because your roll center dives quicker than your CG, and your roll couple gets proportionally longer. The other thing that could happen is once your strut's going up at an angle like this, at a certain point, the strut starts to kind of reverse, and you start losing negative camber under compression. when you do this, like instead of getting more camber and getting the potential for more grip, you actually start bleeding the grip off. So you roll in the corner a lot because of the increased roll couple, and you start losing negative camber at the same time. That's not cool for handling. So what this does is it goes between your knuckle and your lower control arm and puts your lower control arm back in the same position as stock, basically. And your knuckle goes down too, and it keeps your bump steer from getting unreasonable. So when you combine these with the tie rods, you can get your roll center corrected, your camber curve corrected, and have low bump steer. What's really cool about the T3 parts is there's a bunch of holes in them, and by selecting different, these pills, moving it in different holes, you can actually adjust your camber and caster roughly by putting, rotating these around, moving them in and out. And I kind of like that because when I set up a car, I like to have the camber set up at the bottom, and I use the camber plate kind of to adjust the kingpin inclination and the amount of scrub you have. That's kind of an advanced trick, but it prevents steering wheel tug and prevents understeer when you first turn in, if you get that right. But the T3 part allows you to do that. It has the flexibility. Other companies make roll center correctors, but they don't have the ability to cant and move and have camber and caster adjusters, but T3 does it. I mean, if I was going to design the part, this is how I would do it. An important part, really important on an AE86 is, getting your links in the right spot. So when you lower an AE86, the anti gets all messed up and you get really bad wheel hop. Like what happens is you end up with a lot of pro dives. So under torque load, your suspension compresses and it preloads the suspension. That does a couple of things, like by adding all the preload, you lose grip, and with the angularity and of the links, I'll show you on the car what I'm talking about, but you get really bad wheel hops. So if you have like a A86 that's lowered a lot and you ever tried to drift it or dump the clutch, or like let's say it has to kind of have limited slip to get really bad, but you have one with limited slip or welded gears or something, like, man, the back end will hop up and down like a jackhammer. And that, not only does that make the car hard to control and you lose grip, but you also break things, like you break axles, break ring and pinions, break the tail shaft off your tranny, so no good. So what T3 does is they give you this housing. You actually cut a hole in the floor, and you have the upper trailing arm go through the hole in the floor and bolt into this. And this is welded in the inside of the car. Now, if you want a back seat, that kind of sucks, but who cares about your back seat? So this is welded in the floor. You have two positions you can put the trailing arm in to adjust your amount of anti-squat. It's really cool. I mean, this thing's a nice piece. It's TIG welded. It's not for everybody. It requires a lot of fabrication skill. We're doing it on our car back there right now as we speak. I got to hurry up with this video so we can go and get this in there. But this equal length 4-link, I think it's one of the best things you can do for your lowered H6. Other cool things about the links is they have oversized spherical bearings for strength, right and left-handed threads, so you can adjust the links. Why link adjustment is important is so you can adjust your pinion angle. The pinion angle is another thing that can affect how your car hooks up. Like if your pinion is on a lowered car, is going to end up pointing down, and that puts a lot of angularity in your U-joints on your drive shaft, which puts a lot of stress. It also can contribute to wheel hop. So what you want to be able to do is when your car's at ride height, you want to have your tail shaft and your pinion nose kind of like perpendicular or parallel like this. So if you drew lines through it, it would be parallel. And that puts the least stress on everything, and less chance of having vibrations and less chance of breaking in like your drive shaft or your tail shaft off your tranny. A lot of people don't understand pinion angle and ignore it, but when your car is really lowered, you have to have that pinion angle right, and the T3 parts let you get that all adjusted. Another interesting part is our car came with a quick ratio manual rack, which is, pretty cool, but it makes the car really hard to like park and drive around at low speeds. But I didn't want to convert to power steering because, like a non-power rack is the most direct, and having that quick ratio quaif is cool. So there's a company called epowersteering.com, and they make a drop-in electric power steering kit for the AE86. Like, I don't know how well this sucker works, but it uses the assist motor from a Prius. And, this is an OEM designed part, so it's not some janky converted side-by-side power steering unit like a lot of these things are. So it's actually off a Prius, like a full-size car. A Prius probably weighs a little bit more than, or actually a lot more than an AE86. So, it should be able to handle the load. You have a proper controller. Like a lot of guys will take the Prius motor and just hook it up, and but it just runs off of whatever it is. But this actually has a controller. It hooks up to a knob, so I can adjust the amount of power assist by turning the knob. It has this nice heat sink, so to prevent it from getting too hot. And the kit comes with a new AE86 steering column. You can even keep the adjustability. Drops right in, so if you're lazy like me, I'm lazy when I can be. I don't want to fabricate or do too much wiring, and hey, it just goes right in. So I'm going to give that a shot and see how it works. I have some friends that swear by it. I have other friends that don't like it. But I think this is a more engineered system, especially the electronic controls, so hopefully it'll work. I have these T3 polyurethane rack bushings. The stock ones are squishy rubber. These things are really hard, so it's not going to let the rack move around in ways you don't want it to. I have some white line sway bars. They're 24 and 22 millimeters, so that's up from the stock 20 millimeter front and 16 millimeter rear. So the front bar is 40% stiffer than stock approximately, and the rear can be as much as 140% more than stock. So with the front bar, we have 4 adjustability holes, and we have these holes here. So there's a great deal of flexibility and adjustability in how the front bar stiffness is. The rear bar, I have these neat T3 products. Now, when you really lower an 8.6, the rear bar gets at a really weird angle, and that kind of messes things up. The bar is not in an efficient position, and the end links are at weird angles. So T3 made these brackets, which drops the sway bar back into the stock orientation with the axle. They also make these brackets for the rear end links. So as you move the rear bar end links to these 4 holes to adjust it, the angularity of the end links can get weird, and you lose your bar efficiency. But T3 has done these that bolt to the axle. You can actually move your end links in different positions to keep that orientation good. It's another cool, innovative product from T3. I really like these white line bars. They're forged, and they have forged ends. So this isn't a welded on bar, it's one piece. It's strong. With this amount of adjustment, just this adjustment range can change the stiffness of the bar by 100% or more. So the adjustment's actually going to make a pretty big difference. Now in the 86, there's some controversy about what the front bar does. The stock sway bar mounts are really flimsy, and I know that Grant over at BG actually measured the amount of deflection in the whole system, and he found that the mounts deflect the same amount that the sway bar does, so your sway bar is only half working. And So in the AE86 community, everyone says front sway bars don't do anything. But what we're going to do is we're going to reinforce that area, and we're going to tie the sway bar mount into the frame rails. We're going to make a custom fabricated piece. It'll probably be my buddy Zach's building, and he'll probably be selling them. So it'll bolt right on and really improve the response of the bar and how effective the bar is in tuning. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to have a tremendous amount of adjustability in our chassis balance through the bars. We have the T3 hubs. The T3 hubs are made out of solid aircraft aluminum billet. So they're a lot stiffer, and everything's bigger and beefier. So the bearings are better supported. So you're less likely to get brake caliper knockback. That's when everything starts flexing and the rotor wobbles, and it knocks the pistons back into the caliper, and you get a soft, mushy pedal like on the track right when you need to use your brakes. So that's kind of not cool. And if you have an old A86, your front wheel bearings are probably getting hammered anyway because they're probably 30-something years old. So, put new bearings in, get some of these T3 hubs, you'll be in good shape. I think these things save like 4 pounds too over the stock iron ones. You can order them with these longer ARP studs, and you can run 4x114 bolt pattern like the A86 or old school rear wheel drive Japanese car bolt pattern, or you can run 4x114 by 5, so you can run like any number of more modern wheels too. And you can see the hub is designed for either bolt pattern, so you can press your studs into whatever and run whatever wheels. So that's really good. It comes with these cool billet dust caps, so you can run center capless. It'll look sweet. And they're gray hard anodized, so they're not the rusty, yucky looking things. And we're going to be running big brakes. I'll get into that in another video. So this will complement the big brakes, help get rid of knockback, and allow us to rebuild our whole front end with all cool new stuff. And I think that's about it. So let's go over to the car, and I'll show you some stuff in the back. I'll talk about how this equal length 4-link works and what we're going to do to get it in there. So the A86 rear suspension geometry gets really messed up when the car is lower. When the car is stock, the trailing arm actually bolts here, and the panhard rod actually bolts up in here. And what that causes is your trailing arms, your top and your rear ones, are like pointed at the ground, kind of like this, and your panhard rod is at an angle. What this causes is a lot of pro squat in the geometry. So when you put torque load on the suspension, the torque of the motor actually causes the suspension to compress, and the angle of the top link here gets very extreme, and your lateral instant center gets really close. And this makes it so the car wheel hops really violently. And when it wheel hops, you break stuff in your drivetrain. It's not good for anything, even the engine. And you lose a lot of traction. So wheel hop is really bad. So this car already has some parts from T3, who's making all of our suspension links. So the previous owner already installed a few. So he installed this traction bracket, which lowers the point that the trailing arm bolts down. So when the car is lowered and all the weight's on the wheels, it's pretty much parallel. He also installed this panhard rod relocation. So this mounts the panhard rod lower, so that's in the correct position. Now normally it's bolted here and it's like pointing upwards. So what happens is in one way, you turn one way and the car jacks up. You turn the other way, the car sucks down. So with these parts, we can get the panhard rod parallel when the car's at ride height. So it's pretty neutral and it won't cause any weird jacking or loading of the suspension. We're going to take things a bit further. We're going to use T3's kit. And this welds inside the car so we can use a longer trailing arm. So we have the same length trailing arm on top and on bottom. And with this in the car, we can mount the trailing arm in these holes so we can get the trailing arm from going from pro squat to a slight bit of anti-squat. It's adjustable in a couple of points here. So we can correct the rear geometry so we don't have this situation where the back of the car sucks down. It's also going to move the forward distance center like way out, probably in front of the car. So you're not going to have this extreme torque reaction, and it's going to completely eliminate wheel hop. So that's what these T3 parts do in the car, and it's going to make a huge difference in how these cars work. So I'm hoping you're liking this A86 video series. You know, we're going to take the A86 and take it to the next level with modernization. We're going to make it like a fun little play around drift car or track car. And we're spending a ton of money on a slow car. So if this interests you and you want us to build your car or build you a motor, go to MotoIQ.com, click on our garage services, fill out the form. We'll get back to you. We have a web store. If you like this cool merch, you can buy some of it and look like me. You can also get about any part that you would want on your car, like we sell parts there. So go to our web store, check it out, click around, buy some stuff, support us so we can continue to make cool content, and I'll see you next time.